Are you interested in real estate investing but not quite sure where to get started? Do you want to get the know-hows on creating ongoing passive income using the buy and hold strategy? Hi, I'm Janice Bowles, licensed realtor and co-founder of B Premier Ventures, a real estate development and consulting firm where we buy and beautify distressed real estate, renovate it, and resell for profit. With over 15 years of investing experience, B Premier has extensive knowledge in rural land development, fix and flips, and rental acquisitions. B Premier's current portfolio consists of properties within Florida and Virginia. Our firm's services includes investor project consulting, project management, and group coaching. For more information, visit our website at bpremierventures.com and schedule a complimentary discovery session or subscribe to our email list. It's free. Follow me on Instagram at Janice Bowles for additional real estate investing tips. B Premier Ventures, we buy and beautify.
Everybody, welcome to today's episode of Let's Do It Talk Show. It's your girl, Ladrine Howard Peterson, the CEO and founder of Do It, delivering on ideas and thoughts. And you know what I do in a nutshell, right? I help to turn dreamers into doers, right? And I do this from two aspects. I do it from the aspect of HR, human resources. So resume writing, interview preparation. You have an issue on your job. You're looking to switch jobs. I am your girl. Then I also do it from a business aspect. I do it from the aspect of if you are looking to start a business, you have ideas and thoughts and don't know how to bring them to fruition, I'm your girl. Here at the Let's Do It Talk Show, we were primarily created for entrepreneurs, right? And we quickly realized that an entrepreneur is a whole entire person. So we talk about faith, we talk about finances, we talk about the future, and we also talk about family and relationships. So here today is the first Monday, and we talk about faith. So our topic today is all about forgiveness. That's one of the main topics that I try to touch base on at least twice a year. So here we go again. So we're going to be talking about shattering the myths and misconceptions about forgiveness. We're going to go through a couple things, common myths. We're going to talk about reconciliation. Forgiving does not negate your feelings, and also self-forgiveness. So, talk about my weekend a little bit. So we're going to go through that very quickly. So it was Resurrection Sunday. So I hope you all had the opportunity to either, some churches are open, or either tune into church online. So I definitely enjoyed my services, but I also cooked. So quick video, very quickly, just to show you my first Easter spread, my first time cooking Easter dinner. And then also after that, you'll see all of my delicious food. So I had to show off with 2 types of lamb and 2 types of chicken seasoning. And then also I had my apples, my grandsons over. And we were supposed to do egg coloring. We had a whole agenda plan. And they were just like, nah, can we go outside and get wet? It was a little cool, but we took care of that. So that was pretty much my weekend. Look at them. Look at them. So on the show with me today, I have 2 very important people with me. So my guest today, the first one is Tammy Ray Boone. I actually met Tammy while I was hosting a show, Constance Craig, shout out to her and her husband, Money Talks. She had a conference in December, and I was one of the co-hosts for that event. And when I heard Tammy's information and she was talking about forgiveness, it immediately attracted me to her, and I reached out and was like, oh, I have to have you on the show. So, Tammy, welcome to the show, and please give the audience a little overview about who you are and what you do.
Thank you so very much for inviting me, having me on the show. I am honored and I appreciate that you have me here as your guest. Again, my name is Tammy Ray. I am an author of the book entitled The Joy in Birthing Pain. I am a speaker and a mindset coach. And what brought me to this front was, like I think everyone else, is their pain. And through my pain and the experiences of my pain, it propelled me and gave me a desire to reach and teach women to walk in their true authenticity, to walk in and be confident in knowing the intention behind their design. So that's essentially what I do in a nutshell. Just kind of wanting to align people's purpose with their thought process, and that was what hindered me or paralyzed me for a very long time. It was my thought process. So that's why I say I'm a mindset coach, because God gave that to me. So what I do is I shape the mind one thought at a time.
Perfect, perfect. And so that makes sense. So when I sent you over the topic of shattering myths and misconception, that was the excitement that came back. So that's definitely what we're going to do. And next up, but certainly no stranger to our show, is none other than Reverend Colette Rice. And Reverend Colette Rice is my executive pastor, but also my dear darling friend. So Reverend Rice, intro, anything that you want to say to the audience. I know they're familiar with you, because if you come 2 more times, then I'm going to have to name you a co-host, all right? Reverend Rice? So we will get connected back with Reverend Rice. So as we are moving into...
Oh, gosh. Okay.
You hear me? Reverend
Yeah,
Rice.
I can hear you.
Any overview, anything I forgive you. No,
Well, you should, because we've been on, so this is what I'm going to add. We've been on Zoom for a whole year. We still haven't figured out how to mute and unmute without somebody telling you, I can't hear you. Okay. Hi, everybody. What a pleasure. What a joy to be with you again. I love Ladrine. And so anything that she asked me to do, if I can do it, I'm going to do it. I'm so excited. I just met Tammy, and I love myself some Tammy already. So I'm excited about this evening, the conversation, and what it's going to yield. So let's go ahead and get started.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it. So, all right. So I'm so excited about this show. As I mentioned, this is one of the topics that really, 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 when I think about the things that I was able to overcome, that was like a really, really tough lesson. This is definitely it, and still get tried time after time after time, but I'm determined with this one. So what I want to do first, to kick it off, I want to quickly go through 10 myths and misconceptions. I actually pulled these from a varying number of sources, and also just kind of massage them a little bit to make them fit with me. So I'll run down the list of 10 items. So the first one, and I'm purposely going quickly. The first one, forgiving means you are weak. The second one, forgiving is only towards others. So we're going to dig deeper in on that one for sure. The third one, forgiving is for the other person. The fourth one, forgiving means you condone what happened. The fifth one, forgiving means you no longer feel the pain of the offense. The sixth one, forgiving means you trust the person who hurt you. Number 7, forgiving means you no longer hold the person accountable. Number 8, forgiving requires an apology from the person who hurt you. Number 9, forgiving means that God is going to punish the person who hurt you. That used to be mine. Number 10, forgiving means reconciling the relationship with the person who hurt you. So we have those on slides. So later on, we will make sure that they're displayed so that you can see all of them, and we'll repeat them throughout so that if you want to take note of them. But 3 that really stood out for us collectively. So I reached out to find out, from our guests, which ones resonated with them. So we're going to be talking about focusing on self, self forgiveness. A lot of people have like issues with that. We're going to be talking about forgiving does not negate your feelings. We're going to be talking about reconciliation does not negate repositioning. And that's where we're going to start. So Reverend Rice, if you could please lead this topic in this portion of the discussion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This piece for me is really, really critical because I think, Ladrine and Tammy, that some people really, really suffer with the whole aspect of forgiving because they're concerned about them being brought back into a relationship that was not beneficial and helpful for them. And so the safe place is, to distance themselves, to even reject the notion of reconciliation because there's a misunderstanding about reconciliation. Reconciliation for me does not necessarily equate to total restoration, right? And so reconciliation means coming to the knowledge, understanding, to grips with, of course, that the offense has happened, and then making the choice to say, I forgive you. But that does not necessarily mean that it's going to return you to the same relationship. What I say is, if you have abused the privilege of being in relationship with me, you do not have the right, all right, to be restored to the same space that you had. Right. So when you're in one's inner circle, you have the privilege of having a front row seat in the arena of my life. And everybody doesn't have that same, benefit. And I would consider it to be a blessing. I know I could be a handful, whatever, but I still feel that it's a blessing. And so at the end of the day, if you have had the privilege of having a backstage pass, if you've had the privilege of having a front row seat in the arena, you may be able to stay in the arena, but you're not going to be able to stay on the front row. You can't stay on the front row. And that's my decision to make. However, I understand, and it covers points, I think you said points 4 through 10, right? That at the end of the day, I am not going to allow, right, this situation, this circumstance, this affront or offense, if you will, to keep me from having everything that God has for me. And everything that God has for me requires that I understand that he don't love me no more than he loves you. Now, how you handle that love, whether you appreciate that love, that's totally up to you. But I understand that he doesn't love me any more than he loves you. So I humbly, come before God. And there may be times when the restoration does take place because we all come short of his glory, if you will. We may even offend our friendships. We may do some things or say some things or whatever the case, but they're not the type of breaches. Because when you really, really care for somebody, when you really, really appreciate somebody, that still doesn't mean that you may not hurt their feelings or hurt them. But the love that you have for someone it should, right, prevent you from crossing. There should be some boundaries, in the relationship that come with the commitment that we have one towards another. And sometimes you don't see that up front, right? Sometimes that's not revealed until later on in the relationship. Sometimes we enter into a relationship and then we're like, oh my God, I thought this, because what my dad used to say, anybody can stand on their head for a short period of time, right? And so they fool you, right? So they stand on their head, they fool you, and you make some assumptions about who they are to you and how they feel about you. And then sometimes it's revealed to us that people aren't, they aren't who they say they are, right? And so at the end of the day, we have to be at a place where we understand, okay, I'm gonna forgive you because God says that I need to forgive you. My mother used to tell me all the time, because even as a young girl, y'all know how you got in relationships and then your girl, she let you down. She did something, said something, stole your boyfriend, whatever it was, right? And you're like, And then mom, because moms are always filled with wisdom, she would look at me and she said, baby, just treat him with a long handled spoon. Right? Y'all ever hear that before? Treat him with a long handled spoon. So you don't have to you know, you don't have to totally disappear, but I'm gonna create some distance between the two of us, right? I'm gonna create some distance so that I make sure that I guard my space. And I'm not talking about being paranoid or whatever, but what okay, we attribute it to Maya Angelou, and I believe it's well suited there. But when people show you who they are, just believe them, right? Believe them and stop acting like, oh my God, I didn't know, I couldn't believe them. And then the last thing I would want to say is that scripture teaches us that, and I love in 2 Timothy, you all know the story in 2 Timothy 4:14. It was Paul who said, come on, Alexander the coppersmith did me much harm. He meant me much harm, right? And then he says, may the Lord repay him. May the Lord rebuke you. And I pray that prayer sometimes, and I'm laughing, but it's really not funny. And the Bible says, don't laugh when God deals with your enemies, because trust me, God can deal with your enemies far better than you can. Just let it go. And that's okay, right? That's a cliche. Let it go, let go and let God. But for real, when you let God handle it, he said, I'm going to deal with them. And when I deal with them, don't take no joy in it. Right? Because if you take joy in it, it's going to come back on you. But I got a way of dealing with him that's almost going to position you to start praying for your enemies. Amen. You hear me? Because God knows how to rebuke better than anybody else can rebuke. So I just want to say, if anybody's struggling with forgiveness and you feeling some kind of way, like if I forgive them, that means that they have full access to me anymore. That's a myth and a misconception. Okay. Amen.
Amen. Amen. So that's definitely good points. And Kevin Williams is on the line, our man Kevin. So he talks about and shares about how he had a serious issue with forgiveness prior, but then figuring out and understanding that he had to forgive in order to get through his hurt. And Andre Watts says, in forgiveness, there is freedom. Woo! So
yes, liberty.
Definitely in terms of that. And Tammy, by all means, you can chime into the conversation, because I think maybe like 4 words out of Reverend Wright's mouth, I saw you go like praying. So by all means, you can definitely chime in on this topic as well. But what I'll say is a couple things that you brought up, like space. I'm protective about my space, very protective about my space. And mine is definitely because I know that I love like real hard. I love really hard. And it took me situations actually at work to really learn and understand that whenever I'm doing something, be okay with it, like regardless of what happens, and not for a person or not for a manager or not for a given thing. Make sure that you're okay with it, and that helped me out. And from your book, Reverend Rice, the thing that my daughter and I always share when we come against something where we feel like somebody did us wrong or something is, you can't ask a naked man for the shirt off his back. So if I tell you that that was a lesson that you gave to me, it helps me out in so many situations where I understand that that person, their character, who they are, their communication style, their way about, is not like 100% identical to mine, and I cannot expect that from them, and I can't expect them to give what they don't have. So that helped me a lot with forgiveness.
That's good.
That is good. That's good. That's good. Y'all are just saying so much. And the thing that Reverend, like right when she started to speak, people don't understand, like she was saying, and that's what helped me, that there is a distinct difference between reconciliation and restoration. And I loved it. I love the way that you broke it, how you broke it down. Like, to reconcile means to kind of like make peace with. Restoration is to bring back to its original state. So just because I've made peace with you doesn't mean I need you in my space because you disrupted it in the first, but I've made peace with you, but I'm setting a boundary. So I thought that was good.
Amen.
And that's my motto. That's my motto. I always say that forgiveness gave me life. Forgiveness literally gave me life, and there was in that such a liberty. So that's why when Ladrine said that, I almost hopped out of my chair again, because there's so much truth in that for me. During 2020, there were things that has transpired in my life, all of my life, just as everybody. And I didn't understand what was going on with nor in me, right? And what I was feeling and what I was experiencing and how I was moving and matriculating and navigating through life, sludged, like just weighed down with sludge. I thought that's how life was supposed to be for me. It wasn't until 2020, in the middle of a pandemic, that I began to write a book that I was supposed to write 3 years ago. And God began to be with me on forgiveness. One of the chapters in the book is Forgiven Me. And that is when I realized, when I was writing that book, that unforgiveness is what was causing all of this deep, dark depression, all of it. I couldn't move. I was immobile mentally, and all of that hinged on forgiveness, right? So it wasn't hard for me to forgive the individual, because that's what God commands. He does that for us, and he requires that we do the same thing. But it was me holding on to all of that stuff for so long, owning it and being responsible for something that I had no control of, that boggled me down. So it wasn't until he helped me to realize that I needed to release that stuff, that I was liberty, that I was free. So that was good to me. That was good to me.
God bless you that it wasn't the individual that you had an issue with. I'm just going to be point blank honest. Mine was the individual. So the whole aspect of don't take it personally. So again, I always talk about how analytical I am. And I'm like, okay, let me see. They did this to me. They did this to me. So they did this to me, they hurt me, and I'm supposed to let it go. So a lot of the myths that were discussed, those were the things that I was thinking the person was going to get let go. They were going to get let off scot-free. That bothered me. I'm trying to tell you, and thank God for deliverance. My get back game used to be mean, but at the end of the day, it would get me. It would get me at the end. But I'm just being honest. I was like, oh, if somebody did something to me, I would strategize in terms of how I was going to get them. And then, as Tammy had mentioned, at the end of the day, all of that stuff is balling up. Like, I'm deep down inside, I'm a very sweet person. But when you go through that, you will see like the exterior part of you building up your wall. If you allow it to, it would adjust your character. I'm serious. It would adjust your character, because I'll never forget how around my family, and thank God for my family. Oh my God, they love me so much. My mommy, my aunties, everybody, my uncles, everybody really showed me a lot of love. So I expected that everywhere I went. When I went outside, the rude awakening, and it caused me to shift and adjust. And then it wasn't really, honestly, until I was grown that I realized that I keep talking about keeping it real and peer pressure and all of those stuff. It doesn't bother me, but yet when I sat back and looked at it, there was so many external factors that I allowed to adjust me based around how people treat me, how people treated me. And I was like, just got to understand that everybody is not like you, and I wanted to be true to myself, so that sometimes it meant that I would get my feelings hurt. And I just learned to kind of grow and deal with it. And forgiving people was a huge part of it. Huge part of it. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if I may clarify, I, what I was saying was it was easier, or what I was trying to say, it was easier to forgive someone else than it was for me to forgive myself.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that's understandable
Okay.
too. We're our own worst critic. We're most difficult, on ourselves, whether it be our mistakes. And like I said, we all make them. We all have issues, and that can really, really be a challenge. I think it was one of the things that Ladrine said that really resonated with me is that your worldview is shaped
Come on,
by your experiences,
come
right?
on, come
And
on.
so, and family is I believe God created family to insulate you, for for the healthy family environment is designed to help you to affirm you and let you believe in yourself, and then
Right.
also push you and challenge you to be the best version of yourself. And sometimes that is in conflict with our behavior and those kinds of things. But I think when we pour out, and that's why I encourage parents now, children, pour into your children. I mean,
Yes.
encourage them, let them know that they can be and do anything that they're called to do in terms of purpose. And because the end of the day, and y'all know it, the world,
Right.
it's a cruel world. My mother used to tell me all the time, it's a good world if you don't weaken. It's a good life if you
Yeah.
don't weaken. But she would always push me. So I was tender. So I understand exactly what you're saying. And then you go out into the world and you believe everybody's sweet like your mama. Everybody's cool like your daddy. Everybody loves you, with the love that your siblings love you, and so on and so forth. For those who have that. Now, I'm not suggesting that that's everybody's story, but I'm
Right.
saying that it is mine. And
Right.
so when I went out into the world and I was faced with and encountered people who were mean as junkyard dogs, and I didn't know I didn't know it until I saw it. And then when I saw it, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, are people really that mean? Are they really that hateful? Are they really that spiteful? Are people, like the spirit of jealousy? I didn't know about that until I got out there. People, what, backstabbers, smile in your face, always trying to take your place, backstabbers.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about that. I just did not know. And so when I encountered that, like you said, you can draw in, and you come out, then you're gonna go into your safe place,
Yeah.
and you're gonna you want to stick there. So that's why you have people who will say, I'm just, if you say, oh, she's standoffish, you don't know her story. You know what I mean? You don't know why people react the way they do and respond the way they do. And that's why we have, why we have to operate with a modicum of at least empathy, right?
Yes.
So that we want to get connected with the individual and see and talk it through, and perhaps even God is going to use you, to bring them to a better place. But at the end of the day, and I'm reading this book by Eckhart, I keep talking about it, every time I talk to somebody, I'm talking about this book, The Power of Now. But I'm gonna tell you, it really blessed me because it's blessing me because I'm still going through it. But this whole business, Tammy and Ladrine, about people getting in our head or us getting in our own head. Like, we are in our own head. I'm gonna be honest with you. I here's the one thing people say, oh, I live life and I don't have any regrets. No, I have some regrets. One of the biggest regrets that I have is that I did not heed to the counsel and the wisdom at a young age to not let other people occupy space in your head. Do not allow people to be in your head that don't pay rent. You ain't paying rent up here, and yet you running through my head. You run what you said, what you did, and you don't have nothing to do. You know what I mean? You really can't make or break me, and yet I'm allowing you to do that because I've made the lie that you told me live. Right?
So
I made the lie that you told make me live.
yeah. So so we're gonna talk about self-forgiveness in a moment. But Janice Bowles, when you had talked, we were both talking about family and how our family impacted us. One of the things that she said was, family may be a blessing and also a curse. So me, y'all know I don't watch TV, right? However, over like my last couple months or so, I've been finding myself watching TV. Iyanla. Iyanla fixed my life.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Like just watching that and seeing
the dysfunction.
Oh my God, to the level of it, because everybody has some dysfunction. The level of it and the intensity of it. Some things, it's like, oh my gosh. Like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe it. It makes me so grateful for my life. The pluses, the minuses, everything that I've gone through, because anything that I try to get in my head in terms of, oh my God, it doesn't seem that bad. But the point that I was trying to make is that the same way, like we had positiveness poured into us, some people have negativity. So we're going to talk about that when we talk about self-forgiveness. So they're commenting, like everything. So Kevin said, let me suggest a book from my book club, Breathe, Rest, Reflect, and Reset by Candace Wrights. Check it out. So definitely we'll be checking that out. And Andre says we have a lot of unforgiving people in this cruel world, and a lot of Christian people have unforgiveness also. Well, so what I want to do is quickly, I want to do this little thing that I have been doing with all of my hosts. So all of the other information, I give you a little bit of what I'm going to talk about. So this is like a surprise. So what I'm going to do,
surprises.
It's quick. I know.
But I forgive you.
Thank you. I'm happy for that. I accept that. I accept that, and I forgive you too. So the thing is that I'm going to go through 10 things. So this or that, right? It's meant to be quick.
Okay.
This or that. This or that.
Rapid
You ready,
fire.
Tammy?
Rapid fire. Rapid fire.
Yeah,
okay, let's go.
that too. So
let's go.
Lemonade or tea?
Lemonade.
Lemonade. And y'all know what to do on the line. Put y'all comments in as well. Put y'all votes in. The
Tammy
next
said
one.
tea. Tammy said tea. I said lemonade.
All right. I'm lemonade as well. So I'm talking to the people that's online. They play along with us as well.
Okay.
Chicken or beef?
Beef.
Chicken.
Okay. Look, I'm sorry, beef. I love chicken, but beef has become my new fave.
No red meat for me.
So on the line, more people are saying tea. Oh, that's because they haven't started yet. Lemonade is coming up. Okay. Gold or silver?
Gold.
Silver.
Gold. All right. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Tea.
Like, okay, let me stop.
I'm coffee as well. It was crazy. On the last show, I was the only one coffee. All of them had tea.
God.
All of them had tea. So most of the people are, well, it's a tie between silver and gold, and chicken. Chicken is winning. Chicken has won.
Okay. Chicken has won.
Yes. How about the seasons? Fall and winter. You can actually pick your one. Fall, winter, summer, or spring.
Spring.
Fall and spring. I'm summer. I'm a summer baby, so I gotta go with when I was born.
I'm a spring baby.
And most of them, tea, they're balanced between coffee and tea. And Kevin so particular said green tea. Okay, Kev. Dark or bright colors. What type of colors do you like?
Bright.
I'm bright. I didn't hear you, Reverend Rice.
Because I didn't say anything
yet.
I know.
I forgive you.
I'm going to say, I don't like dark. I'm more earth tone.
That wasn't an option. It's like I'm playing. Okay, earth tone. Don't do that.
It's your world. I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut, so I'll say dark. I'll say dark.
Okay. Um, and let's see. For the months is different. Like everybody's picking different. For bright colors is pretty much
Bright.
across the board. You
Look like
switching?
bright one.
You switching?
No, I'm not switching.
Oh, I didn't.
I'm stable in where I'm stable in where I am. I said what I said, and I meant what I said.
I forgive you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I might be having a hunger.
It's okay.
Let me behave. For Tammy will say she won't be in my presence no
Too
more.
late. No, Tammy already know, and that's what I appreciate you. You're very real. You Maya Angelou, you show us who you are. Phone call or text.
Believe that.
And that is my executive. No, I'm playing. Phone call or text.
Phone call. Let's talk.
Yeah, phone call.
So on time, like phone call, like talking, but it depends on the person. If it's a person that I mess with, like like that's my partner, yeah, I can talk on the phone all day long, like all day long.
All day long.
Reverend Rice, you do not have to do that. I forgive you. I forgive you. So most people, okay.
Phone call.
Most people say phone calls.
I see that. That's interesting.
Yes, Wandy, you already know. So some of my friends, when we have those 2, 3, 4-hour conversations, they understand. Wandy, Reverend Rice, Katrina.
They be hoarse, Tammy. They be hoarse after they be finishing. I can't talk no more.
No, you be neck and neck, whether you believe it or not.
Oh, don't you even try. You let it go down in history that I'm a good listener, Tammy. How about we say? Okay, let me stop
I'm
it.
gonna take that. I take that. No, I take that sincerely. Integrity or loyalty?
Integrity.
Yeah, integrity.
Yes, integrity for me all day long, backwards and forward.
Integrity.
Yeah.
LaShawn said text so I can decide if I want to respond.
Oh, that's right, LaShawn.
And Teresa, it all depends who and the situation, because the text can come off a little different. Teresa, I think in terms of conversation, me and you, that might be the record time that I've ever been on the phone. Yeah. I think me and you out of everybody. Depends on the person. Integrity across the board. So that was very interesting. Because we had a show where we had people from all different generations on, and we had one millennial, and originally she had said loyalty. But when she started explaining her answer, everything that she defined integrity.
Right.
So as we started talking through it or whatever, she switched hers over. Not like we made her switch it over, but we were telling her like in terms of the definition and going through it. And she was like, oh, okay. And I think that comes across with a lot of people now, more so like the millennials. But I remember in my career, people used to talk about loyalty. And I'm like, loyalty to do your job or loyalty to a person? Like, that doesn't work for me. Loyalty to a person, like the mission of the organization is. So, that has been interesting to me for a long time. But everyone across the board says integrity. So great. So what we're going to do is
loyal though, and loyal. When we talk about loyalty, though, I'm loyal, and I'm loyal in my relationships. So I have to really say that I am loyal to those who I have those who I've made a commitment to be in relationship with. You will know that I'm loyal.
Absolutely. But you only got to choose one. Second.
But I chose integrity because I feel that if you are integral, loyalty comes along with it.
Right.
So we can actually next week's show, we're going to be talking about integrity and loyalty. We touched upon that briefly before, and some years, maybe like a year and a half or 2 years ago, we talked about that also. You all will remember the Monique and Steve Harvey incident. That was the first time that we had our conversation. And then we brought it back up again when we were on the Money Making Monday show. So we're going to bring that topic back up and talk about it. But I definitely hear both of you and understand it. So definitely when it comes to my friends and things like that, I have loyalty. But when you go overall and you step out something, like one thing about it, like my friends not gonna get me in trouble or anything like that. So it's different levels to that, and I mean like, and they know who I am. So respect and all of that other stuff comes along with it. But that was a very interesting topic, and to see the different generations, especially the younger people, how they define it and how they look at it. And even we started talking about rap music and other things like that. So that was very interesting. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and on the other side, we're going to talk about forgiveness does not negate your feelings, and we're also going to talk about self-forgiveness. So we'll be right back.
Are you interested in real estate investing but not quite sure where to get started? Do you want to get the know-hows on creating ongoing passive income using the buy and hold strategy? Hi, I'm Janice Bowles, licensed realtor and co-founder of B Premier Ventures, a real estate development and consulting firm where we buy and beautify distressed real estate, renovate it, and resell for profit. With over 15 years of investing experience, B Premier has extensive knowledge in rural land development, fix and flips, and rental acquisitions. B Premier's current portfolio consists of properties within Florida and Virginia. Our firm's services includes investor project consulting, project management, and group coaching. For more information, visit our website at bpremierventures.com and schedule a complimentary discovery session, or subscribe to our email list. It's free. Follow me on Instagram at Janice Bowles for additional real estate investing tips. B Premier Ventures, we buy and beautify.
Thank you all for tuning in. Huge shout out to Andre Watts, Minister Andre Watts, Teresa Warren, Kevin Williams, Keyshawn Hardy, hey Keyshawn, LaShawn Moore, Monica Best, Wandy Walston, Swandy Swenson, Janice Bowles, and Tony Lee. And comment in so I can see the other names as you are responding, then I can give you a shout out as well. But please make sure that you follow us on all social media platforms. It's Let's Do It Talk Show across everything. Instagram, Facebook. We have our YouTube page. If you have not already subscribed, please do so. And then we have our website page. So let's jump back into the topics, ladies. So for topic number 3, forgiving does not negate your feelings. And Tammy, I'm going to let you take lead in that. And then Reverend Rice and I will chime in on that topic.
Okay, so I guess for me, like if you look at it in a personal sense, when you have forgiven someone, that does not mean that what you have forgiven doesn't still sting to a certain point, doesn't still sting to a certain degree. I like to go back to what Reverend Rice said when she was talking about the reconciliation and the restoration. So when you have forgiven someone, to me, it's that time in between you when you have forgiven them, that the sting gets a little less, right? So I'm always, let me give a classic example. So I was in a very toxic relationship. It was a domestically violent relationship, right? And for when I got out of the relationship, early on, when I would think upon those things, it would bring up some very traumatic feelings. Tears, fear, anxiety, abandonment, rejection, and all of that. Even to the point where, like, when I was in someone's space or someone walked in my space, when they got a little too close, because of that memory of that thing, it would kind of trigger what happened. But I forgave him for what he did. But as time went on, the pain was less severe. Mm-hmm. The pain wasn't as strong, or the sting wasn't as strong as it was in the beginning. Now, when I think on that today, it doesn't disrupt my mood. It doesn't make me become someone that I'm not. It's still there, but the pain isn't intense because one, I forgave him and I forgave me, and time played a factor in that as well. So I don't think that the thought of the thing or the memory of the thing will go away. It's the sting associated with the pain that does over time. Right. And it has to be a true, authentic forgiveness. You have to truly forgive an individual. And for me, it was, I had to forgive me, also. So I just think that time factor, the true forgiveness, and then that's what makes the pain less. It doesn't pain me anymore. I can think about it all day. I can give a test. I can tell people about the experience now. But had this been 5 years ago or 6 years ago or 7 years ago, I could not tell the story without shedding tears because that pain was still fresh, right? Today, I can tell you about it and not cry at all and not shed a tear at all.
Yeah, and that's good. Kevin, early on in the conversation, when we first brought up the topic and we first delved into the discussion, Kevin pinpointed some things in terms of relationship. He talked about going through his divorce, and it wasn't until he got to a certain point that he was able to forgive, right? So relationships, whether it be a romantic relationship, a family relationship, a friendship relationship, all of those things. So my forgiveness journey is all about relationships. The first one was with my father, and then the second one was with my best friend. And when I tell you, like, my lesson definitely got learned from those different things, because it was because of me not understanding that it wasn't letting them get off scot-free. And mine was, they're going to learn today. That was my little, that was my little thing. Of course, with maturity and as time came around and different things, you started thinking about it. But that was the foundation of my unforgiveness. The hurt, the level of hurt. The level of hurt was just like, oh my goodness, and I did not want to be hurt anymore. And didn't mean that I didn't love these people, loved them like dearly, but the hurt that I felt, honestly, I wanted them to feel that hurt as well. And when you get down to understanding the whole aspect of forgiveness and realizing that, I always say this now, it's a contract between you and God, right? Mm-hmm. It's a contract between you and God. When you understand it and that your whole goal is to be faithful to God and to God's word, it helps you to get through it. And then when you think about the forgiveness that God has grants you time and time again, when you think about the biblical verse when it's asked, like, how many times should I forgive? 7 times no. So it's all of those different things. You learn verses as a kid. We memorized them as a kid. But honey, as I grew older and maturity, not just with age, but also from a mind shift and a mind stance, it helped me to understand like so many different things. But that's where it came about, recognizing that you still will be hurt. And I can still think about some of the things that happened years ago, and I still can get hurt by it, but I forgave them. You know what I mean? And so I forgave them. It helped me to move on and not to be stuck in the situation. But again, people think it means like, oh, you got to forget about it. Oh, the person gets off scot-free. Oh, all of these different things. And I truly believe, like from the people that I talk to and that I minister to, that's some of the thinkings that they have behind that. Like, you have to pretend like you're not hurt, or either you can't forgive until you're able to not feel that when that topic comes up or when that person comes around again. And that is so not true. That's a myth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I say a couple of one thing? Because you pointed out some good stuff. So when you were talking about the mind, see, that's what did it, and that's what will do it. You won't really be able to come to me, from my own personal experience, to a true level of where the pain doesn't affect you the way it affected you until you look at that thing different. You have to change your perspective about it. And the only way you can change your perspective about it is you have to go through the process of that pain. You really have to walk that thing out. You know, you can't overt it, or you can't
you have to sit in it. You have to sit in it.
Yes, ma'am. You can't avoid it. You have to walk that thing out. You have to understand. You have to identify and understand and come in contact with and associate all these feelings with what you're feeling to an event or a circumstance, so that you can process through that thing, so that you can come to a level where your perspective has changed. And when you get to the point of pain later on, it doesn't look the same. It doesn't feel the same. It was at one point something that hurt you, but because now I look at this thing different, because I've come to a true place of forgiveness, it doesn't sting the way it stung 3 months ago or 6 months ago or 8 months ago.
And it's a process. And I think that's the part that we all have to remember. One of the beads of wisdom in my book is time heals all wounds. Give time some time. Right? You have to allow time in order to process. So things don't just happen like this. You're going to have to, and when you sit in it, you have to sit in it and be true to yourself. Like, don't deny what you're feeling. Don't reject, no, this hurt me. And don't have a problem with saying, well, if you're going to have the conversation, this hurt me, and be able to say that, what you said to me. And then if you love me, like you say you love me, then you're going to be willing to, as Ayanla always says, Ladrine, you cannot reject my experience with you, even though you don't understand it. So if you're an abuser, you're not going to get that what you just said was foul or funky or inappropriate or whatever. You know what I mean? If you used to dogging people out, if this is what you do, then and I say, well, what you said was that was problem, and you're like, what's the problem? Somebody who doesn't get it, they just like Washington Post. If they don't get it, they just don't get it. But just because they don't get it does not mean that you are remiss from sitting in it, from dealing with it, and then allowing the healing to take place, because you're not responsible for my healing. You're not responsible for my healing. I am responsible for my healing. I know the one experience that I had from rejection came from one who I thought was a friend. And I'm going to tell you, when a friend offends you, when you get offended by friendly fire, that's some tough stuff. It's, if you crazy and crooked, and I know that, and you do something that I'm whatever. But as we said before, if I'm expecting you to operate in integrity, right, and if I'm expecting you to be loyal out of that, then the last thing I'm expecting is for you to do something. And I mean, this was just, I ain't gonna talk about what it was, but it was bad. Let me just leave it with that it was bad. And it took me time. And I could not, because of the circumstances, I could not even confront it. And see, you can't, it's hard to fix what you can't confront. It's hard to fix it if you can't confront it. But God is even able to work you through that, because see, somebody dead who offended you, and you ain't never gonna be able to come. You can't come up against the grave now. You see what I'm saying? So there's some things that are going to, you may never encounter that person. You may never see that person again, but God knows all things. And so at the end of the day, even if I can't tell you how bad you hurt me, I can certainly go before God, and God knows my heart and he knows my hurt. Right. And so I can say what I need to say to him, and he's the one that can heal it. He's the one that can deal with it. And to your point earlier, Tammy and Ladrine, even forgiving yourself, because you can't go down to the grave. You can't speak to the grave any more than the grave can speak to you. And it's some people that you might have offended, or you might feel like you hurt. Right. I'm so glad that Jesus knows. That's all I got to say. God is a good guy. He is Elroy. He is our God who sees, who knows, and who cares. And he don't miss a thing. People are going to miss it. There are some people that's still crazy. You've forgiven them and they still messed up. You know what I mean? And if they encountered you today, they would still mess you up if you didn't set those boundaries. And if you didn't put a block on that front row seat, you know how they do it now in COVID in certain places, you can't sit. You put that block on that seat, they cannot come in. And that's the way you handle it. But allowing yourself, to process it and giving time. Anybody who's ever grieved, you know that there was a time, come on, Ladrine, you know what I mean? There's a season when you're going to go, and that thing is going to cut you so deep. And that same person who offended me, they still don't know to this day that they offended me. And I have forgiven them with all my heart, because I know I still got that long handle spoon. I still got that spoon, but I'm in a different place about it, Tammy. I remember it though. It ain't gonna ever leave my memory. Come on. Now it's Jesus who will put your sins in the sea of forgetfulness and post a sign saying no fishing allowed. But he has given us a memory for a reason. Come on, he gives us memory, recall, and he gives us all of that for a reason, so that we know how God can put a hedge. He'll put a hedge here. Anybody been in situations where things have been revealed to you and you were like, Lord, how did I find? Because God wanted you to find it out.
Man, Reverend Rice, we're going to have to, slim this little conversation down, because you're about to get me, oh, my God. So serious. Everything that you just said, everything that you just now said is a situation that I just went through in terms of God revealing something. So it was actually New Year's Eve. I forgot what I was coming over your house for, or whatever it was, dropping something off or whatever. And I know I was trying to move fast because I was in a real not so good mood. I remember saying to you, if I treated people the way they treated me, I would be in hell, or something like that. Wow. And it was because something was revealed to me that hurt so bad, and the other person have no idea that I know. They're not passed away, they're living. It took prayer, straight prayer, for me not to schedule I'm not even gonna go into that, but it took a lot from me. It took so much from me. It hurt so bad, and it happened some time ago, but we're not even gonna talk about that. But the pain and the remembrance, and God would bring something back to you that puts it like it happened on yesterday, and all the pieces begin to come together. Because if you would have found out at the time that it actually happened, it would have been a problem. It would have been a problem. So I thank God for deliverance. I thank him
keeping you.
Yes, and shielding me from things. But oh my God, so you hit on so many different things. You were talking really, really, really good. It's so many comments coming online. One I'll read, and then we'll quickly close out with the self-forgiveness topic quickly. But LaShawn Moore says that explains the ease that comes with me forgiving people so easily now. Forgiveness was a long and hard lesson for me to learn. I really expected that forgiving people would erase my pain. Not. So, LaShawn, that was powerful. Oh, my goodness.
Okay.
So, powerful conversation.
I like what Kevin said, though. Kevin said, try Jesus and not me, because I throw hands. Go ahead, Kevin. All right.
I'm not even gonna comment on that. I'm not gonna comment on that. But Kevin, back in the day, back in the day, back in the day, back in the day.
Right. I am redeemed. I am redeemed.
Right.
Come on, we redeemed.
So great conversation, great comments. We probably need to have a segment, a show just around that one, just in itself. So let's quickly talk about self-forgiveness. Like, oh my goodness. So many times when we're going through the process and we're talking about forgiving, it's always the thought of forgiving others. So many people are dealing with issues and struggling through life because they have not forgiven themselves. Rather it be something that happened to them, some decision that they made when they were younger or not so young. It's just those things, the voices that we have when we're in the house by ourselves, and the things that we let get to us. One of the things that I note in people, so I'm very good with identifying people's issues or soft points. If I'm in discussion with somebody, even through coaching or whatever it is, if it is a point where it's a soft point for someone, I will back away. Or if they begin to bring it up, but then they kind of like shift off as if they don't want to talk about it, I'll back away. If it is a conversation that is warranted, then I will have that. And a lot of my conversations with my clients, rather it be from a personal coach, a business coach, or a career coach, it always like revolves into me talking to people in terms of how they identify themselves. Because the first thing that I'll ask, and I do this on interviews as well, tell me about yourself. Everybody have the hardest issue talking about themselves. So the same way you look at that, where you have an issue of talking about yourself, and that's why I love doing, letting people self-intro themselves. I love that because you'll see like the humbleness in everybody, because they'll be like, oh no, when you read the bios, they be like, oh, no, the expectation is to all of those different things. So that's why I choose to do that. But chime in terms of how the whole thing in terms of self-forgiveness and how it just festers inside people, because it's within yourself, right? It's within yourself, in your secrecy, in your own given place, in your own thing. Nobody is perfect, right? So everybody, so I'm going to say it because I already said it. Everybody has a level of weakness, right? Interview question. What are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? Everybody has those. And sometimes we look at ourselves and we look at our weaknesses and we think it's like the most worst, terrible thing in the entire world, and we don't face it. We tend to hide it, mask it, and put it under a rug, which ends up like just having us living a falsified life to ourselves. We put on the front like when we're outside. So chime in terms of your thoughts about self-forgiveness and how it can impact you.
So I think self-forgiveness is, you had read a comment from someone, and they said that it was, I'm putting it in summary, that it was a long process, and they thought that forgiving someone would eliminate the pain. Now, a lot of this I speak to from a personal experience, so and the wisdom of God. But yes, I think we all are in that place. And for me, forgiving someone, we do think automatically up front that when we do that, when we commit that act, that the pain is gone. But what I found, and what I see when I speak to other people, coaching and talking to other people, what happens is we have forgiven that individual for the offense. We have not forgiven ourselves for holding on, harboring, festering, marinating in the offense. We have not forgiven ourselves for owning that offense. And that's what it was for me. Yes, I have forgiven you for molesting me, but I carried that with me for so long, trying to figure it out, trying to understand why I didn't process through those emotions. And that emotion created another emotion, which created another emotion, which created another emotion, which came out in my behavior, which made me become someone I really wasn't. So I had all these unattended and unresolved emotions that
Jesus.
were festering in me that I didn't resolve. And that's what created
Jesus.
in the need to forgive me for carrying all that stuff that I didn't even need to own in the first place.
Jesus. So I see Reverend Rice rocking. I'm going to let you close out the conversation. The only thing I want to add to that is my best friend, Jacinta Stone, passed away, and it took me like my first 7 years was just so tough. But it
Right.
took me maybe like 12, 15 years to really like process and get through it. And guess what? During our first encounter, after something happened, she did something to me where I felt wrong, but she apologized. She apologized. I did not accept her apology. And I was like, oh, we're going to get back right. She passed away
Oh my.
before that. And so, oh my God, you're talking about I beat myself up so bad about it. It wasn't until I honestly forgave myself that I was able to be good with her death. I couldn't even go visit her to her gravesite. Now I go every year on her birthday just as regular, and I think about the memories. But that was a tough one. So go ahead, Reverend Rice. I saw you rocking and moving, and
No, I mean it's just it's more than a notion, and it's more conversation than we have time for. But I just wanted to speak to the layers. You know, when Tammy was talking, it just made me think of so many layers there are to our grief, to our pain. It's why Ayanla fixed my life. You know, she always ends her conversations with "do the work, beloved." That's all she always "do the work, beloved, do the work." And we have to do the work. And that's
Right.
what I want to encourage today, because when you talk about layers, I started writing them down: guilt, rejection, regrets. I mean, and we could just build the list on and on. Things that we left unsaid, you know, things that we left undone, things that we may feel like we've missed, you know, the cycle on, and we're in a space where we're now not forgiving ourselves. It's not always just about offenses, but it could be about what we haven't done that we're not forgiving ourselves for. It could be about the things that we wrap our head around that we really shouldn't. Like in my life, I've had to think through, and there are things that I felt guilty about. There are things that I've done, and I've asked God, and He's provided me the opportunity to have those conversations, to go back and try. Because I used to be the kind of person that if you offended me, I'm done. You know, that was me. I'm just done. And I would walk away. And as I've gotten older, I've come to learn, right, that every goodbye doesn't have to be gone. You know what I mean? That it doesn't have to, you don't have to go out like that. And so if you're not willing to forgive yourself and to humble yourself and admit, you know, I didn't get that right that time. I didn't get it right that time. And be willing to go to that person, be man enough, woman enough to be able to let your pride, release your pride and do the right thing at the end of the day. And then lastly, we just celebrated Resurrection Sunday morning yesterday. And if we don't remember anything else, He did so that we could. Right?
Yes.
He who knew no sin became sin that we might have the right to the tree of life. And at the end of the day, who are you? If He could be dying between two thieves and invite them to be with Him in paradise, who are you not to forgive somebody for something that they've done?
Yes.
Perfect love. It's a perfect love.
Come on, that agape love.
That's that agape love. That's it.
What's your cash app?
So
That's
she said, "What's your cash app?" And Kevin is on the line, like not naming them: unrealistic expectation, guilt, rejection, Andre, pride, the silent killer. So I'm serious. You know how people always be like, "Oh, we're gonna have another show," and we're gonna have another show, and definitely bring Kevin and some of the other ones in, because this is a serious conversation. So I normally talk about this at least twice a year, because it is a serious thing that people struggle with, and God knows I had struggled before, and thank God for deliverance. And I still get tested on higher different levels. Brought it up when we were first going through the George Floyd case, when we were seeing that, and it's like. At church, they asked us, they talked about forgiveness. And I was like, oh my God, when everybody was looking on it on the aspect of forgiving a person, I was like, can we forgive this white man who put his knee on his neck? So when you go into it on a deeper, different level, forgiveness is forgiveness, baby. But the same way, like we do things differently, we forgive at a different level as well. The last thing I'm going to say, Reverend Rice, when you talked about things that are unsaid, in our book project, we all grieve differently. So one of the things that I like really talk about and what gave me so much peace through like the whole tragedy and whole like hurt and being heartbroken about my mom, the peace that came about was the conversations that we had leading up to her death that I had wanted to have with her for years. So that gave me a peace through in the middle of my pain. And a lot of the other young ladies talk about the what they didn't get the opportunity to do. Right. So ladies, and gents and everyone else who's chiming in, great show. I appreciate each one of you. You know that we're over time, so I'm gonna go through the would you rather, but seriously, y'all, I need y'all to just say them real quickly so that we can close out. One answer, Reverend Rice. I'm sorry. I apologize. Please forgive me.
It's okay.
Would you rather look strong and be weak, or look weak and be strong? Me?
Look weak and be strong.
Absolutely. All day long. For the second one, would you rather have a pause button or rewind button in your life? Pause.
Rewind.
Okay.
Rewind.
Okay. Be forced to sing along or dance to every single song you hear. Me, dancing, because I cannot sing.
Sing along.
Okay.
I would like.
Would you rather hear a comforting lie or an uncomfortable truth?
An uncomfortable truth.
Have all the traffic lights you approach be green, or never have to stand in line again? Never have to stand in line again.
Never have to stand in line again.
Every light can be red. Every light can be red. So thank you all so much for being on the show. Social media information, social media contact, please make sure that you put them in the feed so that everyone can follow you and everyone can reach out to you if they want to and get more information. So closing out the show, so thank you to my guests. Thank you, Tammy Ray. Thank you, Reverend Rice. And thank you to everyone who chimed in. Very engaging discussion. Next up on the show, as I mentioned, integrity and honesty. The show following that is Married to the Game. We're going to talk about single women, married women, and their businesses and how it impacts. And then also coming up, we're going to have like a generational gap and generational bridge. We're going to ask the same questions to different generations and have engaging conversations about that. So make sure that you follow us on social media. Again, Let's Do a Talk Show across all platforms, and make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not already done so. So thank you all so much, and see you on the next show.